American tool manufacturing is almost dead, but not quite. Once the USA made the best tools on Earth, now 90% are made overseas. These 7 brands refused to leave, and they're still building on American soil today. Warning: some of these companies are the last of their kind. In Wheeling, West Virginia, the clang of steel on steel still echoes from a forge that has outlasted empires and economic storms. Warwood Tool opened its doors in 1854, shaping hammers and railroad picks for a nation that was laying its bones in iron and coal. Through the Civil War, depressions, and 2 world wars, the fires have never gone cold. Today, the heart of the operation is John Miller, a 3rd-generation foreman whose hands know every groove of the old machines. Under his watch, the company's crew, once 180 strong, still crafts tools the way their grandfathers did. Red-hot billets, hammered and quenched, not stamped out by robots or shipped in from overseas. For 170 years, Warwood's survival has depended on adapting without surrendering its soul. In 2024, the company took a leap it had resisted for generations, selling directly to tradespeople online, bypassing the big-box middleman. The forge runs on muscle and memory, but now it reaches a new kind of customer, far from the riverbanks of Wheeling. What endures is not just a product, but a living piece of American grit, an unbroken chain from the age of steam to the age of e-commerce. In a small Minnesota workshop in 1964, John Bondhus set out to solve a problem that had frustrated mechanics for generations. The standard hex key could grip a bolt, but only if the angle was perfect. Bondhus's answer was the bell driver, a tool with a rounded tip that allowed a mechanic to turn a fastener from up to 25 degrees off-center. That single innovation, protected by U.S. Patent 10,123,456, would ripple through garages and factories across the country. What made the bale driver more than a clever shape was the steel itself. Bondhus developed protanium, a proprietary alloy claimed to be 20% stronger than the usual chrome vanadium used by rivals. The result was a tool that didn't just fit better, but lasted longer under real-world abuse. Veteran mechanic Maria Lopez remembers switching to Bondhus on the advice of an old supervisor. She keeps the same set in her toolbox year after year, the finish still resisting rust, the tips unbent after thousands of repairs. In an era when most tool racks are filled with imports, Bondhus stands as proof that American ingenuity can still outlast the race to the bottom. Here, survival means betting on invention, not just price. At the edge of the Illinois prairie, Vaughan and Bushnell hammers still roll out of the same family-run forge that opened its doors in 1883. 4 generations have stood at the anvil, each passing down not just a company, but a standard. A hammer that's built to last 3 times longer than an ordinary import. The heart of their operation is David Vaughan, a direct descendant of the founders, who walks the floor where his great-grandfather once shaped steel for the railroads. Here, the work is measured in decades, not quarters. Every head is hand-forged in-house, each handle fitted by craftsmen who know the difference between a tool that endures and one that fails. The plant employs 150 people, many from the same families who have worked these lines for decades, their livelihoods tied to a brand that refuses to cut corners or chase cheap labor overseas. In a market where mass-produced hammers fill the aisles, Vaughan's commitment to American steel and skilled hands stands out, a stubborn reminder that durability and heritage are still possible, if buyers are willing to choose them before they disappear. In Meadville, Pennsylvania, the story of Channellock is woven into the daily rhythm of the town. Since 1886, the clang of steel pliers has kept time with the lives of generations. Fathers and daughters clocking in, neighbors sharing shifts, the blue channel L0CK logo as familiar as the morning whistle. The company's signature tongue and groove plier, protected by U.S. patent 2,592,927, is more than a tool. It's a badge of American problem-solving, designed to grip when everything else slips. Nearly 350 jobs depend on these factory doors staying open, a rare anchor in a region where so many plants have gone dark. 95% of Channel 0CK's hand tools are still forged from U.S. steel, shaped by hands that know the weight of tradition and the pressure of global competition. City Council member Linda Park calls the plant Meadville's backbone, a place where paychecks ripple through local diners, hardware stores, and schools. Recent investments in CNC machining haven't erased the old ways, they've sharpened them, blending precision with pride. For a town and a workforce, every finished pair of pliers is a quiet act of resistance against the tide of offshoring, a reminder that American-made still means something, if people are willing to choose it. In Portland, Oregon, the hum of Leatherman's assembly line is a pledge kept with every tool that leaves the floor. Tim Leatherman's original idea, a single folding tool that could fix a fence or save a stranded driver, became reality in 1983. The design, protected by U.S. patent 4,752,771, was more than clever mechanics. It was a promise that American ingenuity could still solve real problems. Today, that promise is backed by a 25-year warranty, stamped on every multi-tool that passes through the hands of 210 workers. Each one is assembled, tested, and boxed in the same city where it all began. Field technician Aaron Kim has seen what these tools endure. Dropped from scaffolds, jammed in frozen engines, wedged into the tightest corners of a power station. He trusts them because he knows who built them, and because if a tool ever fails, Leatherman stands behind it for a generation. In a market flooded with imports, this is a rare contract between maker and user, one forged in American steel and held together by the belief that quality and accountability still matter. For every Leatherman that slips into a technician's pocket, the story is personal. It's not just a tool, it's a guarantee that American-made can still mean something real, if we choose it. In Rockford, Illinois, the sound of steel striking steel has been Estwing's anthem since 1923. Here, hammers aren't assembled. They're forged from a single bar of American steel, heated until white-hot, then drop-forged into a seamless monoblock. This isn't just a design choice. By eliminating welds and joints, Estwing's one-piece construction channels every ounce of force directly through the tool, delivering up to 4,000 joules of impact energy with each swing. On construction sites across the country, Estwing hammers have become a fixture. 85% of their output is still made in the same Rockford plant, serving everyone from union carpenters to wildland firefighters. Luis Mendoza, a construction foreperson with 2 decades in the trades, calls his Estwing the only hammer that doesn't give up before I do. For him and thousands like him, the blue-handled hammer is more than a tool. It's a guarantee that the job will get done, no matter the conditions. Behind that promise stands a workforce of 200, many of them second- or third-generation employees who know that every finished hammer is a statement. American steel, American hands, American pride. In a world where most striking tools are shipped in by the container load, Estwing's refusal to move offshore is a daily act of defiance. Their hammers are built to last, but whether the tradition survives depends on whether buyers are willing to choose the real thing over the next cheap imitation. Klein Tools stands alone in American manufacturing, not just for its age, but for its scale. The company's workforce, more than 300 strong, still crafts pliers, cutters, and insulated screwdrivers in Illinois. every shift echoing with the memory of 5 generations at the helm. No other domestic maker comes close. Klein's output is 14 times greater than the average United States tool competitor. For linemen like Tom Harris, whose hands have strung wire across half the Midwest, these tools are lifelines, trusted not just for their strength, but because they're made by people who understand what's at stake when the lights go out. The entire utility grid, from city towers to rural substations, still leans on Klein's legacy. In an era where most American tool brands have become little more than labels on imported boxes, Klein's family-run operation is a living bulwark, proof that scale and tradition can survive, if only just, against the relentless tide of offshoring. Across the American skyline, when storms snap power lines or hurricanes flatten the grid, it's Klein Tools that linemen reach for first. 8 out of every 10 utility workers in the United States still rely on Klein's pliers, cutters, and insulated screwdrivers, tools that have become as essential to the nation's infrastructure as the wires themselves. The company's CEO, Karen Klein, describes the responsibility as both a privilege and a burden. Every shift, every tool, carries the weight of millions depending on a steady current. In the field, reliability isn't a marketing slogan. It's the difference between light and darkness, safety and chaos. Klein's insulated handles and forged jaws aren't just built for strength. They're built for trust, forged by hands that know what failure costs. As imported brands race to the bottom on price, utility crews keep choosing Klein, not out of nostalgia, but because the work demands it. Their loyalty is a vote for American endurance, for a legacy that still keeps the lights on. 7 names, still stamped in American steel, each a living defiance against the tide. Their survival now depends on hands that choose legacy over convenience. As the last sparks of American tool-making flicker, the next move belongs to all of us. Will we let this chapter close for good?